All right, let's dive right into this explainer covering Crysticism, Code 142.2. Today, we're unpacking chapters 5 through 8. And look, we're not treating the creation of Earth like some mystical fairy tale here. Instead, we're looking at it as a deliberate, dynamic engineering project crafted by master builders. You know, we so often hear creation stories framed in these purely poetic or magical terms, but these texts, they present something entirely different. They lay out a literal cosmic blueprint. We're talking about a highly structured, meticulously planned system designed from the ground up to test and train souls. So here's our blueprint for the breakdown today. We'll hit the ground floor project, the silver cord lifeline, Earth's self-regulating mechanics, the hydrological counterweight, the biological energy network, and finally, the law of equilibrium. Starting us off with Section 1, the ground floor project, the grounding phase. To kick off our structural analysis, let's turn to Chapter 5 and look at the actual foundational density of the planet itself. The architects, the Elohim, they weren't just casually throwing rocks together out there. Notice this incredibly precise blueprint ratio they chose. On one side, we have a 75% dark matter density, the heavy physical ground floor. And paired with that, we have 25% glow power, or hidden radiance. This was explicitly designed as a heavy, opaque environment. Why? To test if a soul can actually maintain its light when stuffed inside a dense physical shell. The sacred fire is buried so deeply inside these physical elements that to an untrained eye, it completely disappears. Now, there's a disruptive force in the text, Sir Pent, who actually mocked this heavy density. He called it a tomb that would just crush the trainees and make them forget who they are. But the master builder Elsie countered with this absolutely profound truth. The weight is the teacher. Actually, think about how brilliant that is. If the apprentices, the souls, can shine in this incredibly heavy 75% density environment, they can shine literally anywhere. The resistance isn't some design flaw. It's the main feature of the training ground. Moving right along to Section 2, the silver cord lifeline, the ultimate failsafe. Okay, so dropping souls into 75% density obviously requires a massive engineering solution to keep them connected to their power source, right? I mean, you can't just toss an apprentice into a high-gravity pressure cooker without a lifeline. So enter the silver cord. It acts as a living umbilical cord, feeding a steady, vital trickle of life force right through those dense physical layers, so the trainees never actually disconnect. You can kind of think of it as the most sophisticated step-down circuit in the entire universe. The main power source stays safely up in the high-vibration realm, the great central sun, while the cord carries that energy down, slicing through the dense layers of Earth and plugging straight into the physical heart. It's a guarantee that no matter how intensely opaque the physical world gets, the connection remains totally unbroken. But hey, any good engineer will tell you that signals face interference, and Sir Pent definitely tried to clutter the airwaves with false heavens and vibrational static to confuse the trainees. To combat this adversarial static, a Zen defense grid was woven directly into the atmosphere. The text explains that an advanced group known as the Great White Brotherhood actually descended right into the density to act as living light anchors. They zeroed out the interference, so essentially they scramble that static into harmless dust before it can ever even reach the souls, completely protecting this vibrant, grounded environment for the apprentices. All right, Section 3, Earth's self-regulating mechanics, mechanics of the machine. Shifting gears into Chapter 7, we see that Earth needed mechanics to keep this whole greenhouse project alive, and this is fascinating. Planetary features were designed as highly specific, homeostatic engineering choices to shield, balance, and filter the workshop. For instance, the inner core? It's not just a ball of hot metal, it's a massive dynamo generating a global magnetic shield and enforcing that 75% gravity clamp. The axial tilt makes sure no region becomes a permanent oven or an icebox by creating shifting seasons. The rotational spin acts as a gigantic alternator, generating wind to literally scrub and filter the air. And then you have the moon, perfectly positioned as an orbital counterweight for the tides so the oceans don't stagnate, all while softly reflecting that 25% glow power during the dark nights. Which brings us to Section 4, the hydrological counterweight, or automated plumbing. Working seamlessly alongside all those physical movements is this massive automated plumbing system woven right into the planet's emerald matrix. It's a predictable step-by-step cycle, acting as the planet's primary cooling system, ensuring fresh energy is constantly flowing from high places down to the thirsty, grounded soil. Water vapor rises and naturally leaves all its impurities behind. Then that fresh energy gathers, falls as clean rain, and uses the rivers as literal coolant lines to distribute life force all across the continents. Literally every single system interlocks. The core powers the shield, the moon pulls the water, the tilt shapes the climate, and the spin drives the winds. It's an absolute masterclass in systems design.
Let's look at Section 5, the biological energy network, focusing on energy conversion.
So, with the raw mechanics humming along flawlessly, Chapter 8 introduces the most delicate phase of the whole project, turning biological life into a living energy conversion network. When you view nature through this systems engineering lens, it's wild. You realize that plants, insects, and animals are essentially this highly organized, incredibly vibrant workforce maintaining the greenhouse project. Plants act as biological solar arrays, catching the sun's energy and exhaling oxygen, the literal breath of life. Insects, they're the maintenance crew, constantly pollinating and cleaning up organic garbage. And animals are moving energy packets, carrying life force all across the globe and actively testing the physical rules of the world with every single movement. It is a fully integrated, completely self-sustaining loop. And finally, Section 6, the law of equilibrium, designed for preventing overload.
Now, obviously, biological life introduces a huge danger of system overload, especially since resources are strictly finite in a 75% density world. If one single species grabs too much, it can literally blow the circuit. So, to counter this threat of hyperconsumption and parasitic dominance, the architects hard-coded a strict system of regulation to make sure the biological engine stays perfectly balanced and never burns out. The predator-prey feedback loop, it stops parasitic overload dead in its tracks. Finite land and water act as natural circuit breakers. If a population overshoots, the system forcefully nudges it back. And the life-death cycle itself is really just the ultimate recycling unit. It breaks down physical forms so their energy can be returned to the serene, grounded soil to fuel the next wave of biological solar arrays.
High above in the etheric cities, the trainees, who, by the way, are depicted much like yourselves, looking like completely normal 25-year-olds in everyday clothing, just stepping into the prime of their lives, look down at this fully stabilized, flawlessly engineered workshop. Their silver cords are just glowing with anticipation. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final thought to carry with you into the 75% density of your own lives. You are tethered to an infinite power source, walking through a masterfully engineered training ground designed specifically to test your resilience and your radiance. The systems are running perfectly. The fail-safes are totally active. The rest of it? Well, the rest is entirely up to you. So, how will you navigate the ground floor?